Have you ever stopped to question whether you're truly free? Not in a philosophical or political sense, but in your day-to-day choices. Think about the first thing you do in the morning. Do you reach for your phone, searching for something, anything, to distract your mind? Maybe you sip coffee while scrolling through videos, listening to a podcast, just to fill the silence. And when that silence finally arrives, what do you feel? Most people feel an itch, a discomfort, a sudden urge to escape again. Not because silence is painful, but because we've been conditioned to fear it. Pleasure in itself isn't the problem. It's a natural response, an evolutionary compass that guided our ancestors to food, connection, and survival. But in the modern world, pleasure has morphed into something else entirely, a seductive trap. When the pursuit of pleasure becomes the default response to boredom, anxiety, or pain, it no longer serves you. It enslaves you. Aldous Huxley foresaw this not through the lens of violence or dictatorship, but through distraction, an endless loop of gratification that numbs your desire to think, question, or rebel. Huxley's vision was not of a world dominated by fear, like Orwell imagined, but one lulled into obedience through comfort. A society so saturated with entertainment and instant gratification that it no longer sought meaning. He described a world where people wouldn't need to be controlled, because they would gladly surrender their minds to the sedative of pleasure. It wouldn't take chains to keep them in line, just enough dopamine to keep them docile. And now, look around. What do you see? We've become a culture addicted to distraction. Endless scrolling, constant notifications, quick hits of dopamine from likes and shares. Everything designed to eliminate discomfort before we even understand it. The moment you feel sad, you reach for your phone. When you're anxious, you stream a show. When you're lonely, you swipe on strangers. The world is filled with tools to keep us entertained. But beneath that entertainment lies something darker, a quiet erosion of autonomy. Here's the terrifying part. No one is forcing this on you. There's no one holding you at gunpoint, demanding you watch videos or order takeout. You're choosing it, or so it seems. But what if your choices are no longer yours? What if years of conditioning have trained your brain to mistake impulse for intention? When you repeatedly soothe discomfort with a quick fix, you program your mind to fear stillness, to fear your own thoughts. And that fear is the gate through which control quietly walks in. The modern world doesn't demand obedience through laws or violence. It simply overwhelms you with options, so many that you forget how to be still. You are surrounded by 1,000 forms of digital stimulation, and yet each one leaves you feeling just as empty as before. Why? Because none of it requires effort, and nothing earned without effort holds lasting value. The constant pursuit of pleasure leaves you chasing shadows, never substance. And over time, you begin to lose the ability to tell the difference. This is how a subtle, voluntary form of slavery takes root. Not through oppression, but through saturation. You are not shackled, you are seduced. You don't resist, because there is nothing to resist. Only another click, another scroll, another harmless distraction. But every time you avoid discomfort by turning to pleasure, you surrender a little more of your autonomy. You train yourself to believe that difficulty is dangerous, that silence is unbearable, and that reflection is a waste of time. It's no accident that this system works so efficiently. You have been molded for this. From school to social media, from consumer culture to corporate advertising, you've been taught to stay busy, stay distracted, and most of all, stay comfortable. But here's the hidden cost. Comfort without reflection breeds weakness. A society that flees discomfort at all costs creates individuals who are emotionally fragile, psychologically dependent, and intellectually passive. Huxley's soma is no longer a fictional drug. It has taken the form of smartphones, Streaming services, shopping apps, processed foods, and endless entertainment. Each one offers you momentary escape. Each one whispers that you don't need to face yourself, but you do, because the avoidance of discomfort does not lead to peace. It leads to numbness, and numbness is the death of the self. It's how your soul falls asleep while your body continues moving through life. So ask yourself, when was the last time you were truly alone with your thoughts? When did you last sit in silence and listen? Not to a podcast, not to a playlist, but to the quiet voice inside you that remembers who you really are. Most people can't even tolerate a few minutes of stillness without reaching for a distraction. But it's in that stillness, uncomfortable, unfamiliar, sometimes painful, that the seeds of freedom are planted. Because silence reveals what noise has hidden. It brings up the questions you've been running from. Who are you without stimulation? What do you believe in when no one is telling you what to think? What do you want? Not in the next 5 minutes, but in the next 5 years. These are not comfortable questions, but they are essential ones. And the system is designed to keep you from asking them by keeping you perpetually entertained. But here's the truth most people avoid. You are not meant to feel good all the time. Life is not meant to be a continuous stream of excitement. Growth requires boredom. Love requires sacrifice. Meaning requires discomfort. When you begin to accept this, you stop being a passive consumer and start becoming an active participant in your life. You stop asking what will please you next and start asking what will shape you. And what shapes you most are not the moments of pleasure, but the moments when you resist it. When you choose to work through a task instead of giving up. When you sit with your loneliness instead of numbing it. When you endure boredom long enough to hear your own thoughts again. These are acts of rebellion in a world that profits from your distraction. These are the first steps to reclaiming your freedom. Because freedom, real freedom, is not the ability to do whatever you want. It's the ability to say no. No to cheap pleasure. No to easy answers. No to the endless stream of content designed to keep you from becoming who you're meant to be. Freedom is focus. Freedom is purpose. Freedom is presence. And none of that comes from comfort. It comes from the courage to step outside the cycle and face what's real. So the next time you feel the pull, the reflex to scroll, to consume, to escape, pause. Don't react. Just feel. Sit with the discomfort and let it speak. You'll be surprised what it has to say. And over time, those moments of pause will become your power. You'll realize that you are not your impulses. You are not your cravings. You are not the sum of what you consume. You are something far greater. You are the one who chooses. You are the one who can stop the loop, not by force, but by awareness. The moment you become conscious of the trap, you begin to loosen its grip, not because the urges vanish, but because you finally see them for what they are. Trained responses, not truths. And when you see clearly, you can choose differently, not just once, but again and again, until your habits no longer own you. This path isn't about rejecting all pleasure. It's about putting it in its place. Pleasure isn't the enemy. It becomes dangerous only when it replaces purpose. When it becomes the goal instead of a reward. When it numbs instead of renews. Used wisely, pleasure can nourish you. But left unchecked, it will sedate you into apathy, robbing you of the very life you were meant to live. The question now is not, what do you want to feel, but what do you want to build? A life that lasts, a mind that thinks, a heart that stays open even when it hurts. These are not made through comfort, they're forged in fire. Every time you choose the harder path, the slower one, the quieter one, you're shaping yourself into someone who doesn't need constant escape to feel okay. And when you become that person, the system loses its hold on you. Because it can't sell you distractions you no longer crave. It can't control a mind that thinks for itself. You'll still live in the same world, but not as its servant. You'll scroll less, breathe more, chase less, notice more. Not because you've given up pleasure, but because you've finally learned how to receive it without needing it. So now ask yourself, what would life look like if you stopped needing to feel good all the time? What would you discover if you sat still long enough to hear your soul speak? The answer is simple: everything. Because beneath the noise, beneath the craving, beneath the lie that you're not enough without the next hit of stimulation, there is a self waiting to be remembered. That self is not a slave. That self is free.